The studio was buzzing with excitement as Kelly Clarkson's live audience cheered for her next guest, a Hollywood star Mark Wahlberg. The atmosphere felt electric. Bright lights reflected off the shiny stage floor as Kelly introduced him with her signature smile and a warm welcome. Mark walked in confidently, greeting the crowd with casual charm, his trademark grin lighting up the space. The show started off smooth, a friendly chat about his new film, his fitness journey, and his Boston roots. The initial conversation flowed easily. Kelly asked about his new project and how he balanced action roles with fatherhood. Mark responded humorously, teasing about early workouts and teenage kids who think he's not cool anymore. The audience laughed. For a moment, it was classic morning TV, wholesome, energetic, and entertaining. Nothing hinted at the storm that was about to unfold. Then, halfway through the segment, Kelly shifted topics to something more personal. She brought up a recent viral interview where Mark commented on Hollywood's changing culture. The question seemed innocent enough, but the tone caught him off guard. "You said the industry's become too political. What did you mean by that?" she asked with curiosity. Mark smiled tightly, taking a moment before answering. "I just think people focus too much on saying the right thing instead of doing the right thing," Mark said evenly. Kelly nodded, but her next question was sharper. "Some people thought that sounded dismissive of progress, like care against change in the industry." The audience went silent. Mark's jaw flexed slightly. "That's not what I said," he replied, his voice calm but firmer now. Kelly, still smiling, pressed it further. "But don't you think some of your older movies wouldn't fit today's standards?" Mark chuckled dryly. "Of course not. Times change. But you can't rewrite the past. We made the best films we could back then." Kelly tilted her head. "So you don't regret any of it?" she asked pointedly. The tension began to surface, invisible but unmistakable. Mark took a sip of water and leaned forward. "I regret things in my life. Sure, but movies, they're time capsules and you can't judge the past by today's mood swings." Kelly blinked, caught off guard by his phrasing. The audience shifted uneasily. The energy that had once been playful now carried a hint of defensiveness. Trying to redirect, Kelly laughed lightly. "Well, I think fans love your confidence. But you've been called outspoken a few times. Does that ever get you in trouble?" Mark smirked. "Only when people twist my words. I'm honest." "Maybe that's rare now." Kelly hesitated before saying, "Honesty is great, but sometimes it can sound a broken bar harsh." Mark's eyes narrowed slightly. "Harsh?" he repeated. "You mean real?" Kelly quickly added, "No, I just mean some people see it differently." Mark crossed his arms. "Yeah. That's the problem. Everyone sees everything differently now. You can't say anything without someone crying about it." A few laughs came from the audience, but Kelly didn't join in. The tension climbed another notch. The producers behind the cameras shifted nervously. Kelly attempted to lighten the mood again. "You know, I think what makes you great is your passion, even if it's fiery sometimes." Mark smiled tightly. "Fiery's fine. I just don't like being told how to think." The crowd clapped awkwardly, unsure whether to support or stay quiet. Kelly nodded slowly. "Of course, but as someone with such a huge platform, don't you think you influence a lot of people?" "Words matter," Mark shot back. "So does context, Kelly." The room went quiet again. The smile on her face froze slightly as she tried to maintain professionalism. What was meant to be a casual conversation had now become a verbal standoff. A camera zoomed closer. Kelly glanced toward the control booth. The teleprompter didn't help. "This wasn't scripted. I think we can agree context is key," she said. "Exactly," Mark replied sharply. "But the problem is nobody cares about context anymore. They care about headlines." He leaned back in his chair, arms folded. The audience seemed torn between fascination and discomfort. Kelly's tone softened. "I get what you're saying, but sometimes headlines exist because people feel hurt." Mark frowned. "People feel hurt over everything. I say one thing about old school work ethic, and suddenly I'm the villain." Kelly interjected, "I think it's about listening." "I've listened," Mark interrupted. "Trust me, I've heard enough lectures." The tension was now undeniable. Producers motioned to wrap the topic, but Mark continued. "The media needs to stop pretending outrage is progress," he said firmly. Kelly exhaled through her nose. still smiling at the audience. "We love passionate conversations here," she said lightly, but her body language stiffened. Mark leaned forward again. "Yeah, then why are people afraid to have them?" The comment drew gasps. Kelly's eyebrows lifted. "No one's afraid," she said calmly. "We just like keeping things positive." Mark tilted his head. "Positive means controlled, right?" Kelly blinked, surprised. "No, it means respectful," the crowd murmured. Kelly tried steering to a commercial break, but Mark spoke again. "Respect goes both ways, don't you think?" The control booth panicked. The host had lost control of the segment. Kelly glanced off camera. "We'll be right back," as she started, but Mark interrupted. "No, let's finish this." "You asked, I answered." The crowd fell silent again. The screen's countdown clock blinked red as producers prepared to cut the feed. The exchange was too volatile for daytime TV. Kelly smiled through visible tension. "Mark, I think we're out of time," she said firmly. "Oh, I bet we are," he muttered with a smirk. The music cue for commercial break began to play, but Mark's mic was still live. "Guess honesty doesn't fit the format," he added under his breath. The audience gasped. Kelly's face froze in disbelief. The camera quickly panned out. The show's logo flashed. As the broadcast cut, whispers filled the studio. When the feed returned, Kelly appeared alone, smiling tightly, thanking the audience for their patience. She didn't mention Mark. Viewers at home immediately noticed his absence. Social media erupted within minutes. Backstage sources later reported that producers had quietly asked Mark to leave after the break, citing schedule conflicts. But witnesses claimed the exit wasn't smooth. "He wasn't yelling," one crew member said, "but you could feel the frustration." Rumors spread that his team argued with the show's staff before being escorted out. Online, clips from the argument flooded every platform. Hashtags like #Mark Wahlberg Showdown and #KellyClash trended within hours. Some fans defended Mark, saying he was just speaking his mind. Others sided with Kelly, arguing that respect and tone matter more than raw honesty. The internet had chosen sides. Entertainment journalists scrambled to analyze every facial expression and word. Pundits debated whether Mark had gone too far or if the show mishandled the moment. Late-night hosts joked about Hollywood's angriest fitness guru, while online polls showed viewers evenly split. The controversy fueled endless speculation. 2 days later, Kelly addressed the situation briefly on air. She thanked her viewers for their support, reaffirmed that her show values respectful discussion, and wished Mark the very best. Her statement was diplomatic, polished, and subtly final. It signaled closure, at least on her end. Mark, however, stayed quiet for a while. His team released no immediate comment, which only fueled curiosity. Fans speculated whether he'd been officially banned from the show. Some tabloids claimed producers privately agreed not to invite him back for the foreseeable future. Neither side confirmed nor denied it. When Mark finally spoke during a later podcast, his tone was calm but pointed. "I don't regret anything I said," he explained. "I just don't like when real talk turns into theatrics." Listeners noted that he never mentioned Kelly by name but clearly referred to the incident. His remark reignited headlines once again. Kelly's production team stayed silent, but insiders claimed the episode's raw energy had driven up ratings dramatically. "It was chaos," one staff member admitted, but people couldn't look away. The clip became one of the most replayed moments of her entire season, despite the discomfort it caused. Within a week, both celebrities moved on professionally. Kelly hosted new guests, keeping her tone cheerful. Mark returned to promoting his movie, often avoiding live interviews. Still, that single confrontation lingered in the public imagination, a kind of moment that defines how viewers see a celebrity's temperament. Media analysts later wrote think pieces about it, framing it as a clash between authenticity and diplomacy. One columnist noted, "Mark represents the raw, old-school bluntness of Hollywood, while Kelly symbolizes modern media restraint." The article went viral, showing that the story had become symbolic, not just sensational. In private circles, producers began rethinking their interview approach. The network quietly circulated new guidelines to ensure live segments remained balanced and respectful. Behind closed doors, everyone acknowledged that spontaneity can backfire when pride meets performance. Mark eventually appeared on another show, where he addressed the controversy more humorously. "I didn't get kicked off I just took an early break," he joked. The host laughed, and the audience applauded. The tension had turned into a talking point, a piece of pop culture history rather than scandal. Months later, both Kelly and Mark attended the same award event. Cameras caught them exchanging polite smiles on the red carpet. No drama, no tension, just quiet acknowledgement. Tabloids called it a truce, but insiders knew neither forgot the clash. They'd simply learned to move forward. And so the story remained. A fleeting moment of honesty turned viral spectacle. Mark Wahlberg's heated clash with Kelly Clarkson became another reminder of how fast live television can turn unpredictable. For some, it was proof that authenticity still has power. For others, it was a lesson in restraint. Either way, one truth stood clear: a daytime TV will never forget that morning when words, not actions, stole the show. The incident didn't just fade into the background. Talk shows and podcasts across Hollywood revisited it for weeks, debating whether Kelly overstepped or if Mark's temper got the best of him. Some journalists framed it as a symptom of modern media tension, hosts walking the fine line between journalism and performance, and guests struggling to control their narrative in an era when every facial expression can go viral within seconds. For Mark, the public reaction became a mixed blessing. His name dominated headlines, trending across entertainment sites and social media platforms. While some critics labeled his behavior arrogant, others celebrated his candor, calling him one of the few celebrities willing to speak without filters. He gained new followers online, many who praised his refusal to conform to the Hollywood PR script. Kelly, meanwhile, handled the storm with professional grace. Her team managed the narrative smartly, keeping her statements brief and neutral. Off-camera, sources said she was visibly shaken but determined to move forward. "She doesn't like confrontation," one insider revealed, "but she won't let it define her." Her audience admired her calm under pressure, strengthening her reputation as a class act. The clip continued circulating globally, even reaching audiences outside the U.S. International news outlets ran subtitles, transforming a brief cultural moment into a worldwide discussion about communication and respect in modern media. Fans overseas debated the meaning of freedom of speech versus responsibility of speech. The internet turned a talk show argument into a philosophical conversation. Marketing analysts soon noted an unexpected spike in both Kelly's and Mark's media engagement. His film's trailer views doubled overnight, while Kelly's show saw record replay numbers. Ironically, what began as a PR disaster became mutually beneficial. Both stars had become the center of pop culture's attention, a living proof that controversy still sells in Hollywood. But the story didn't stop there. A few weeks later, leaked audio from the show's backstage conversation began circulating online. In the recording, a man resembling Mark could be heard saying, "I don't need to be told how to talk on my own terms." Though unverified, the clip reignited online drama. Fans dissected every syllable, unsure if it was authentic or edited for effect. Kelly's producers quickly issued a statement saying the leak was inaccurate and unauthorized. Mark's team stayed silent. The lack of denial only fueled speculation further. Online sleuths created timelines, comparing lip movements and syncing voice patterns. It became a digital mystery, fans treating it like an investigative series rather than celebrity gossip. Late-night comedians couldn't resist the material. One joked, "If you can survive a Mark Wahlberg interview, you can survive anything." Another quipped, "Kelly should get hazard pay." Both celebrities laughed it off publicly later, signaling that they were ready to let the narrative fade, though audiences weren't quite finished talking about it. Entertainment magazines published retrospectives titled "When Honesty Meets Television." Experts weighed in, explaining that emotional moments like these resonate because they're unscripted. People crave authenticity, one media psychologist explained. Even when it's messy, viewers didn't just watch, they connected. For many, it felt like witnessing the curtain pulled back on celebrity control. Weeks later, Kelly invited another guest known for being outspoken. The episode aired smoothly, with fans praising her ability to keep discussions balanced. "She learned from the Wahlberg moment," one viewer commented online. Others saw it differently, claiming she played it too safe. Now, the show's producers realized how deeply that one episode had changed the tone of future broadcasts. Mark, on the other hand, leaned into the controversy strategically. During interviews, he laughed off the moment, framing it as a difference in energy. He told One magazine, "Kelly's awesome, we just see things differently." The calm tone impressed fans, helping him shift public perception from aggressor to misunderstood straight shooter. His PR recovery was textbook. Rumors later surfaced that network executives quietly reached out to Mark to consider a follow-up appearance for a reconciliation special. It would break the internet, one insider claimed. However, both parties reportedly declined Kelly, citing schedule commitments, and Mark's team saying he was focused on film obligations. Fans suspected they simply preferred to leave it in the past. Despite their differences, the episode sparked broader reflection across the entertainment industry. Producers began training hosts to navigate unpredictable conversations better, focusing on empathy-driven interviewing techniques. Workshops were introduced, emphasizing emotional cues and de-escalation strategies. In a strange way, that tense exchange had improved talk show culture behind the scenes. By the year's end, both celebrities were thriving again. Kelly's music career continued to flourish alongside her daytime show, while Mark's movie topped box office charts. Yet, every time someone mentioned talk show meltdowns, their names resurfaced together. The moment had cemented itself as one of daytime television's most memorable clashes, a piece of unscripted history replayed endlessly online. Looking back, fans often describe that episode as the perfect storm of personality and pressure. Kelly's grace met Mark's intensity, producing a moment neither planned but both will be remembered for. In an age where everything is edited, the raw exchange stood out as real and messy, emotional, human. It proved that even in a world obsessed with image, authenticity and no matter how uncomfortable, still captivates millions.